This is Kite Cutter TV with another presentation. We gotta talk about this. Okay, guys, tomorrow Joe Biden will sign an immigration executive order that will basically give amnesty to over 11 million undocumented immigrants. Okay, so he's basically planning a pathway to citizenship for 8 years for illegal immigrants in the country illegally. Now, this doesn't make any sense because basically you're just opening the floodgates for more illegal immigrants to come through. Also, what he wants to do is stop the border wall. Now, if you speak to most Border Patrol agents, they actually want a border wall. So why would a president go against the people of the Border Patrol and stop the border wall? Another thing that's happening is the Mexican cartels now knowing that Joe Biden is in office and Donald Trump is no longer in the way of them bringing their drugs and illegal immigrants across the border. They're basically running amok and stepping up efforts to push more drugs and more human smuggling across the border. Also, during a pandemic, why would you allow more refugees into the country? Joe Biden wants to take the limit from 15,000 per year to 125,000 refugees per year during the coronavirus pandemic. This pandemic is basically the start of the New World Order. Okay, PRC, problem, reaction, solution. These people will create a problem, wait for the reaction, then give the solution. When people are in so much pain, they're looking for anything out there, okay? And the hypocrisy runs deep. I don't agree with what happened when people stormed the nation's capital on January 6th, so I definitely don't agree with that. But Black Lives Matter was running amok for months, okay? And these people just got nominated for a Nobel Peace Award. Talk about hypocrisy. Check this out.
And happening tomorrow, President Biden is expected to sign several executive orders on immigration.
One of those orders the president plans to sign would establish a task force that would reunite families separated at the border with Mexico. The president is also expected to increase refugee admissions. He said in the past he wants to boost the number from 15,000 per year to 125,000 per year. However, many Republicans argued now is not the time to let new people in, especially during a pandemic. The president says he also would like to create an 8-year path to citizenship.
We wanted to see the changes since our last visit, so we headed back, just as new leadership was taking power in Washington.
It's incredible. This is probably the first time a journalist with national news has heard this at the border.
Our next guest getting a firsthand look at how border conditions have changed over the year as President Biden targets immigration in new executive orders tomorrow. Lara Logan hosts a brand new season of No Agenda, Return to the Border on Fox Nation as of today. And she joins us right now from not far from the border. Good morning to you, Lara.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. The name of your show is No Agenda, but really your agenda is to bring to light voices we have not heard. And in your new season that drops today on Fox Nation, you're taking a look at the drug cartels, which despite Donald Trump really cracking down on our southern border, they have flourished.
Well, the reality is, Steve, and I think the headline here, that the cartels have become a shadow government in Mexico. They are a parallel government, and the Mexican government itself takes its orders from the cartels. They control everything on both sides of the border. So what you're seeing already is they've communicated to people. They have people rushing over the border in high numbers now. Pretty much, a lot of the sectors are up and up significantly in terms of gotaways. I mean, we're talking about, thousands of people who are just running past Border Patrol agents, and they can't keep up with the numbers because they're waiting for that amnesty. Under the new administration, if you were here before January 20th, then you will be folded into that amnesty bill. And Border Patrol has no way of knowing or proving how long people who have been illegal are in the country. So they're coming, those numbers are up already, and they'd be up by more if it weren't for the fact that, a Texas judge had put a freeze on had put a stay on the Biden administration's hold on all deportations, which I have to say is, which overrides Title 42, the public health consideration that was in place, right? Because if you freeze all deportations, then no one is being returned under public health guidelines, because Mexico is a COVID hotspot.
It is indeed. We've got a clip from your new series that is on Fox Nation right now on how the cartels have gotten much more aggressive. Watch this.
We found the cartels more aggressive by the day, what Jason Jones and others called an escalating national security nightmare. Armed with military-grade weapons, a war chest in the billions, and unconstrained by the rules of war, they're not stopping at the border.
At the end of the day, this is the national security threat that has to be addressed. It has to. Can't just go on.
People will look back and say, how come they did nothing for years?
For decades, Claire. This could have been stopped so long ago.
He's right about that. And Laura, he's also right. It is a national security threat. So it will be interesting to see what Joe Biden tomorrow on Immigration Day at the White House has in store for security on our southern border with his executive orders.
Well, based on the guidelines so far that have gone out to the border agencies, they're moving from a mission of border security to one that is, almost entirely about migrant care, because they're taking agents off their normal jobs. They're taking them off security patrols. They're taking them off the special units like horse patrols. And they are already building facilities now. And basically, they don't want to keep people there because under the COVID guidelines, you have to have certain distances between people. And Border Patrol isn't even set up to house children, right? And families, let alone house people under COVID. So they're just going to be shipping them out as quickly as they can with a notice to appear in the country. As long as you claim credible fear, these agents down the line at these small stations, they're not dealing with that, right? They're just sending you on your way and you're going into the country. And I will say, Steve, what's interesting is that right at the moment as the U.S. is opening up its border, right, pretty much looking to more open borders, bypassing the legal immigration system that exists right now, giving people alternative paths. At the exact same moment, Mexico, interestingly, has doubled down on its border security and its border in terms of cutting off all cooperation with U.S. Agents unless they go through, a particular cell, and Mexicans have to report contacts with U.S., stripping them of immunity. So this is a tough time for U.S. agents inside of Mexico.
All right. Lara Logan has no agenda. Return to the Border is available today on Fox Nation. Fox Nation is a members-only streaming service with exclusive access to original content.
Following calls from some in the media to deprogram Trump supporters and comments like this from former CIA Director John Brennan. Watch.
And unfortunately, I think there has been this momentum that has been generated as a result of, unfortunately, the demagogic rhetoric of people that's just departed government, but also those who continue in the halls of Congress. And so I really do think that the law enforcement, Homeland Security, intelligence, and even the defense officials are doing everything possible to root out what seems to be a very, very serious and insidious threat to our democracy.
Joining us to discuss is Chad Wolf, a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation and former acting secretary of U.S. Department of Homeland Security under President Trump. Chad, thanks so much for coming on today. If you don't mind, just sort of react to the statement we've just heard by John Brennan and also this call to sort of seek out and find violent extremists in the U.S.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security certainly has a role here, and I think the bulletin that they issued last week is part of their effort to make sure that they're communicating to the American people. I think what's interesting, though, about this bulletin is a lot of the political violence and a lot of the violent activity that we saw over the summer is hardly mentioned in this bulletin. So when we talk about violent activity trying to overthrow the government or trying to certainly target certain political actors, I think we not only need to look at the events of January the 6th, certainly, but look at what's been occurring in the country over the past 10 to 12 months. And so a lot of the activity that we saw over the summer, a lot of our political leaders did not, or I would say failed to comment, failed to condemn those actions over the summer. And so I think when we talk about political violence, and we talk about violent activity, we need to make sure that we're being very consistent, that we're calling out those that perhaps are on the far right, but also on the far left, and then everything in between. So hopefully as the department moves forward, they're not only looking at the events of January the 6th, but they're also looking at some of the violent events that occurred over the summer, making sure that those don't come back as well.
Yeah, I mean, you highlight this double standard, and for anyone who's been paying attention to what's going on and maybe not just watching, rosy news coverage of what's happening, you would have noticed that these protests had turned into riots in certain points, fiery but mostly peaceful. I mean, we saw the fire behind the reporter. And for anyone tuning in, we've been following and seeing these FBI arrests for the Capitol riot rioters, but you're wondering, where's the accountability for those who destroyed the small business in Kenosha, Wisconsin? Has the FBI found who's to blame for that? Why is there such a strict focus to get a response for January 6th? Rightly so, by the way, but not the other damage that we've seen.
Well, I certainly agree with you. I know during in the summer, going back to July, August, where at least from a Department of Homeland Security perspective, we were dealing with violent opportunists and criminals in Portland for over 90 different nights. Every night they were trying to break into a courthouse and assault law enforcement officials and others there. And it got some coverage, but not a lot. And so we were encouraging the FBI from a DHS perspective to investigate those individuals, investigate how they're being armed, who's financing them, and the like. And so, look, I think there has been some investigations into that. There's been some prosecutions into what occurred over the summer. I would like to have seen more. So I know the FBI is looking into that, but you're certainly right. There is certainly a trend at the FBI, Department of Justice, and others. They will go very aggressively on the events that we saw on January 6th. And again, as you said, rightfully so. But they need to make sure that they do that across the board in a very consistent manner. Because when you don't see that consistency, that, again, signals to other individuals and other groups that perhaps they can, again, do this type of violence with little repercussions. And so we need to send a signal to each and every group that's going to use violence to a means to an end, that they can't do that, and that law enforcement is going to investigate and prosecute where appropriate.
Yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. And speaking about looking ahead, let's talk about the border wall as well, and what that could look like under the Biden administration. Tell me about potentially your concerns you might have in regards to how the Biden administration is approaching our southern border.
Well, a couple of different ways. You mentioned the border wall system. I believe President Biden and the administration has stopped all construction on that border wall system. And that's unfortunate, because what I heard over the course of 4 years of visiting that southern border time and time again, the men and women of the Border Patrol were asking for an effective border wall system. They're looking for that impedance and denial. It helps them do their job better. So it's not only that physical infrastructure, but it's the roads, it's the camera, it's the lighting, it's the fiber optic cables, it's the whole system there that allows the Border Patrol, the men and women of the Border Patrol, to do their job more effectively. There are areas of the border that are very, very difficult to patrol. So we need to put up an effective border wall system that will actually push those wishing to come into the country illegally into areas that we want them to, and so that we're able to patrol them on our time, and gives us the advantage. And so you need to continue to put up that border wall system in strategic locations. We have been very clear over the last 4 years. We do not need that border wall along all 2,000 miles of that border. And so we need to continue to build in effective locations. And unfortunately, I think the current administration has decided, at least initially, to put a halt on all border wall construction.
All right. Chad Wolf joining us with his analysis here live on National Report. Chad, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
We have the visa in our passport and we can't travel. Seriously, it's crazy.
President Biden is set to reverse Trump immigration restrictions on Tuesday, but it's unclear if he will end a pandemic freeze on many visas and green cards. Thousands of diversity visa lottery winners pray that he will, so they can use their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to move their families to the U.S.
Life will be so lovely, so colorful. Our dreams will come true.
Ijoma Golden Kwajo lives in Ivory Coast with her husband and 2 daughters. She has applied for the lottery many times in recent years, hoping for a peaceful life in the U.S. far away from her country's political instability. A year ago, she was finally selected for the program. It allocates around 50,000 green cards each year to countries with low immigration rates to the US, many of them in Africa.
I was so happy. And then I was pregnant. So the first thing I did was I heard my tummy, my belly then, and I said, this baby gave me good luck.
Kwadwo's good luck was short-lived. Soon after she won, Donald Trump banned the issuance of most visas, arguing it would free up jobs for unemployed Americans. Still, Kwadwo's family eventually received their visas thanks to a federal court order. But there's a catch. They can only use them if Trump's freeze is lifted, and they permanently expire in March.
The odds of being selected for this type of visa are so low that an individual who has been selected once will likely never be selected again.
A White House advisor reportedly told a gathering of U.S. mayors last week that President Biden intends to repeal the freeze soon, though the White House declined to confirm. Kwadwo knows she can't celebrate yet.
Most times now, we don't sleep. We're always on Twitter, always on searching for news, searching for new news, searching for hope.
Ben Chamiso, Newsy.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, God bless. Peace.